the youth leadership program was a little bit like a CC manual. At that time, it was competent communicator, no, not competent communicator, competent Toastmaster program. And we started with icebreaker, and then the next project 2, project 3. And if someone, oh, wait, I'm thinking of the other one, Speechcraft. Yeah, maybe I'm confusing with the Speechcraft. But we did base ours on competent Toastmaster manual. And of course, we don't have that anymore. And Renee said, did we do like 3 or 4 sessions, Renee?
We just completed our 4th session.
Yeah. And we're going to do just 6 sessions with about.
And then I think there were maybe 11 or 12 that actually joined. And then one on the very first day, before we did the icebreaker, before we did the, it was the icebreaker exercise where we broke them into rooms. He asked, well, is there any homework involved? And I said, well, yeah, you ought to prepare for your speech. And then he left. But the rest hung in there, and they're having a good time. They're having a good time. And Dawn, I did not realize that it had to be 8 weeks. I didn't realize.
Yeah, you know what? Look, it says it in the book, Renee, but honestly, let's be honest, guys. If you've done a Speechcraft or any of this, and I'm pretty sure Connie can attest to it, you could probably bring 2 of those sessions together into one, and probably another 2. I mean, I've done it with speech. Now Speechcraft is lined up where, depending on how long you do each session, it's 4, 6, and 8. This one, I'm just telling you the guidelines that the International shared. It should be 8. And I think part of that is because these are children and you are trying to get them to follow guidelines, if you shorten it too much, then you're not fully going through the book. And I think that's their thing, is we want you to fully go through the book. But honestly, you could do the first 2 sessions in one and probably the last 2 in one, because a lot of times you're not doing as much in one versus the other. So I actually think, especially mine were like 90 minutes when I've done Speechcraft. So there's plenty of time to combine 2 in. And that's one of those things where I would tell you, as your team is planning it, you really make sure you really plan that out. Look at that manual, which I'm pretty sure you both have done, and just, okay, here's what we're covering in these sessions, so we know we're doing that, and they know you're doing that. And like you said, maybe for chapter 1, you really don't have much, because it's the icebreaker and breaking the ice and little activities to get to know them and give them a little bit of teaching, if you will. So 2 is really where we'll get in the net, kind of maybe go through what that is so that you're prepared next time to be ready for your first icebreaker speech. And I agree with you, Connie. In terms of the numbers, yeah, they tell you 2025, but if you have 2025, those are 2-hour sessions. Don't even think because there's no way you're getting through 20 people in an hour. And if so, which activity are you doing? For me, if they're doing a full speech, that's 2 sessions, 10 and 10 in one session, because it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. You guys know it's not going to go right away. Everybody's not going to be 5, but some people may go over. There's no way you're doing that. There's no way you're doing that in an hour, maybe not even 2 hours. So you definitely have to modify it too. That's the other thing I did, is maybe for them, it's a 3 to 5 minute speech, so that you can get through it. I know they recommend that number, but every time I see that number, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't even get through 20 people in a Toastmasters meeting. How are we going to do that in a youth leadership?
And what I did,
I think 10 is a good number, personally.
And what I did too is I didn't let them volunteer for their speeches. I actually assigned, I had a sheet, and it had each meeting and who was going to speak and evaluations and all. I had everything laid out for them so that they knew that when they had to do what.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I have a budget question. I heard you mention a couple numbers earlier, but I'd be curious for Connie, who had, 15 people, how much that cost? And then for Renee, you have your folks, what's the full budget, the total number that it costs to do that?
When I did it, the district provided me with the packet.
Okay.
I had already ordered one book and a coordinator book for myself because I wanted to see it. But when I did it, the district was actually providing the packet. So I didn't buy anything additional.
Okay.
Nicole, we do have district dollars. We're just trying to still hunt down who exactly in international is now in control of that. There was a member that passed away years ago that left money for the program. So it really is just a matter of trying to figure out how that will work. If you do it, then how we would reimburse you. I think we still have some dollars, but I do believe when we split, half went with 117 and half went with us. So we just have to figure out. Apparently there's still dollars left. I'm just still trying to hunt down because the person that knew about it is not there anymore. And I'm still trying to figure out where those dollars are and what's the process for. So I will have more information on that for you because I plan on putting something out there on the site in another week or two with more detail. That's one piece of this I'm still trying to get more detail on.
Okay. Yeah, because for me, if I can get a sense of how much it costs to run a group, I can plan a budget to have someone sponsor it. I would want it paid for totally.
Absolutely.
So,
and do realize some of your groups of interest, they probably won't mind. You would just get on the Toastmasters site like you do, get their card, pay for it, and either have it shipped to you or to them. So you have a way to do it. The groups that I've done stuff with, they actually got their books when I've done Speechcraft in the past. And so I definitely say it's something where you just have to figure out, is it you doing it and you going after others? But if they're still interested, then, and their group wants to do it, you know, the football team or whoever wants to do it, they hopefully also have dollars too. But I will make sure we find out more about the district's dollars. That's still been a mystery I'm still trying to solve.
Thank you.
I bought them ribbons, the red Toastmasters ribbons. I bought them those ribbons. I paid for those myself. And then I put together notebooks for them that had their workbook in it, as well as some extra paper for them to do things and just for them to put whatever they wanted to add into it. So all of that I did myself. But like I say, I was in a corporate club, so I used the resources that I already had at work. I had the tent cards that they could put up with their name on it and if they were president or whatever their role was. I did all of that for them to make it more official. But like I said, I was in a corporate club at the time, so using our resources was what I did.
And I will tell you, the outline that's out there in Pathways for your icebreaker, that is a great form to use. I have found for anybody to help them with their speech, because it literally walks them through what's your introduction, what are your key points. It's a little worksheet, you know, what is your little conclusion. That's a great guideline, whether it's their icebreaker or not, especially for someone, because it's just a simple thing for them to jot down what they want to do in their speech to begin to help them to start to think about, right, how do I begin to organize a speech? I look at that worksheet. I like the way they did that for Pathways, and I would recommend anyone bring that down and print it out or share it with your students. That's one piece of something that I don't see personally, I don't see a problem with, because it's a simple just outline on how to do a speech. And it's really good. It's really good for a lot of people. I still sort of work through that myself sometimes when I'm putting speeches together, just because it makes you think in the same format that you would organize a speech. And that's sort of how we should be planning speeches out anyway. And that's helpful to them as it's very simple.
Thank you guys for the information. I have to jump off early.
All right, thanks, Gail. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Gail.
Good to see
Talk to
you.
you in the morning.
So, any other questions from anybody? Does anybody have any
Yes,
interest?
I have a
in
question.
groups? Yes.
For Renee. Renee, you're doing yours on Zoom, right?
Yes.
How's that been? What's your experience been like? Zooming with the youth.
I think in this day and age of COVID, it's easier than you might
Yeah.
imagine because, and
Yeah.
even for the kids.
Yeah.
So actually it's, we're all used to it now. It's simple. They know how to use it. I don't have problems with them on their phones or those types of distractions.
Yeah.
There are some distractions. They're in their home. So maybe
Mhm.
a little brother might come in and play or say something. So I have those little distractions, but that's cute, quite honestly. But no, I think it's gone well.
Okay.
I put together some PowerPoints for them because they didn't want to just talk.
Mhm.
And since I'm not there physically, the PowerPoints help just to kind of emphasize some of the points that we're trying to make. When we did our officers, there's a polling that you can do on Zoom. We were able to have them do it by poll. They were able to vote by poll, and we can see the results. So there's some great advantages to Zoom. The other biggest advantage that I hadn't anticipated for raising my club group is that I didn't really know where to start to recruit these kids. I didn't know where to start. Here in Asheville, I sent out, I'm gonna say at least 50 invitations by email to schools and English teachers, but I also sent the invitation to North Carolina Department of Public Education, North Carolina Department of Charter Schools. That's where I got my response. And so the beauty of Zoom is I've got people that are not in Asheville,
Yes.
but they're in North Carolina, but I have no one from Asheville. And so I can do that through Zoom. And we literally had, again, our group started off at 14, it ended up being 11, but I still had people responding. So I have about 10 or 11 people that want to join our next workshop. I kind of want to do this on an ongoing basis for our club. So I've got people that want to join. They were so disappointed that I was full. And initially I went by the format that the book said, 20 to 25. Naive of me. It was Ray who said, oh, Renee, don't do 20, 25. Thank God she said that, because with the 11, that's a handful. That's a handful to give them all an opportunity, So in answer to your question, Nicole, for me, Zoom is kind of the perfect format. I know it's not the same as touch, feel, see on site, but it has its advantages, and there's so many ways to work around getting your information across and getting them plenty of opportunity to speak in front of the group.
Renee, can I ask you, when do you do your, when are you doing the youth leadership? Is it a weekend? Is it an evening?
Monday night at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I wanted to do it. I feel on weekends, unless it's early in the morning, which a lot of kids don't want to do. We're targeting high school kids, by the way. I think if I just open it up to any kids, then the high school kid might be bored with the 5th grade kid in the same class. So we kind of limit it to folks in high school. But I wanted to avoid the weekends because they have so many activities going on. And we chose 7 o'clock. We wanted them to be done with school, be done with homework, be done with dinner, and then they can devote their time to this.
I agree. And I do see, absolutely too, you're right, the benefit of having, if you're going to target middle school, then target middle school. If you're going to target a certain age group, let's say 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, then target 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, or target high schoolers. I agree with you. I think Melissa and I kind of talked about that. We're like, okay, How will you do this with these multiple ages? Their attention spans are very different. Where they are at is very different. So you definitely want to look at just a specific age or group or something common for them, because otherwise you're right, you'd be all over the place. How do I keep all of these different ages engaged?
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. And we thought about it. We did get interest for the district, and we get a good amount, then we would probably have to look at, all right, where do we put our pockets of kids, so that we're maybe running a couple of different ones based on the age group.
Right.
And another thing we're doing on Zoom, since it's Zoom, is I don't give them the opportunity to chat. I let them chat with the host, but I don't let them chat with one another, because that's a distraction for these teenagers. And then one of the things that I'm learning through this, and I've never taught before. I love the profession of teaching. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, but I went a completely different route. But sometimes it can be a challenge with these teenagers. Again, we have a great group, but I have one individual. I don't know if you know who I'm speaking about, Ray, but I think one has what I'm going to call kind of some emotional instability. And I didn't quite know how to take it. Should I be the authoritarian and say, now you, blah, blah, blah. But what I notice is that his heart is completely in it. And what I mean by emotional, he might make a funny face, but yet he's still listening. For instance, when he gave his icebreaker speech, he cried. He literally cried, because he talked about his family and one of his brothers who is adopted and how he loves his brother. So his heart's in it, but yet through the meeting, he'll just do something not quite what I call Zoom etiquette, but it's really not his fault. So I'm learning to be patient with them and recognize that they have different emotional levels. But as long as their heart's in it, I'm going to give them some leeway and show them some compassion and try to keep them on track. But I find that I don't have to be the authoritarian or the disciplinarian and still keep them on track.
It's interesting. I have a member in my club that's one of the reasons why she actually joined. She said she found that sometimes when she's trying to give speeches, she gets emotional. So one of the reasons why she's actually been practicing as much and doing so much is to try her very best to not be able to talk about certain subjects and not get emotional. And I thought, wow, I've never heard that from someone. So it is something that we all come for different reasons, right? And I'm like, okay, her objective is to try to get through, to inspire. Like, how can I do this in a way that when I do talk about a subject, even if it does touch me, I'm okay, but I don't want to cry. Like, I'm trying to not have the waterworks when I have that speech. And I thought, wow, I never thought about that. Maybe someone that is a struggle for them when they speak. And I thought, wow. So it's interesting that you say that, because as he's probably learning, you're probably also helping him just to express himself. So then eventually be able to express himself in a way that maybe, not that there's anything wrong with crying though, but maybe that you're not crying every speech, So I thought that's cool.
So I have a question, because Renee touched on something in her sharing with us just a moment ago that brought this question back to my mind. A lot of times when you're involved in programs where you're dealing with younger kids, you're required to either go through some sort of questionnaire, go through some intentional training so that you know how to deal with certain circumstances that may come up depending on the maturity level of the child or the age of the child. Is that a part of, is that built into the youth leadership program in any way through Toastmasters?
No. Okay. No, you're just telling them, you're marketing this like a speechcraft or anything else. You're trying to just really honestly get the Toastmasters name out there by inspiring some youth. But particularly the one thing that they talk about in the introduction to this is really doing actually what Renee did, which was go to schools, that Connie did as well. Go to the Department of Education, go to these other, you know, organizations that can kind of direct you to youth. Another thing they tell you is look in your community too. So maybe you put something, actually advertise it in a newspaper. But no, there is no guideline to that. And maybe as hopefully we do more of these and they develop pathways a little more in some of our other modules too. We have speaker, what is it, train to speak, forgive me guys, speaker to trainer or whatever that is. Maybe you do that and help people to understand, okay, you do sort of need to, like you said, Melissa, build some sort of way to gauge your audience, especially if you're new to this. Like Renee said, she's exploring teaching. She's exploring a whole lot of things, patience, you know, teaching, just all those different things that come with it, because they are excited. I've tutored often, and they are excited when you come in and you want to teach with them, but they're also the whole behavior thing, because they're all, some are fine, but you got a few others, you got to kind of rope them in. I had one kid one time, okay, I'm going to hold your hand and you're going to help me tutor. You know, like those are the kind of things that you just learn that patience as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Melissa. How do I sort of, we're always talking about gauging our audience when it's adults, but how do you gauge that audience too when they're young people as well? I don't think we've built anything like that into at all. I don't think in any of our modules, honestly, in Toastmasters.
So Melissa, I'll tell you, that's what you're speaking to is one of the reasons why this particular program draws me. So my background's in public health, and I focus specifically on substance misuse prevention. So the work I do in North Carolina is how do we get our young people, how do we keep them safe, how do we minimize underage drinking, how do we keep kids off drugs, and all this kind of stuff. So for me, I'm really attracted to how to couple the concepts of Toastmasters with prevention education, which we talk about the resistance skills, all those foundational skills that are needed to wrap a child so they can be resilient, okay? So what you're speaking about is awesome. And so when I think, like, wouldn't it be really, really awesome to see the concepts of Toastmasters with building communication skills, being a part and paired and partnered with organizations that are actually teaching the kids things around resistance skills and protective factors and all those things that keep our kids safe. So I'm really, really excited about this, because when I saw it, I was like, ooh, this is awesome, because I can couple this with the work that I do every day and the communities that I provide resources to every day. And that's why I said, how much does this cost? Because I can find money to get this all over this North Carolina.
I love that,
Nicole, is you can build into, like you said, as you're doing your programs, like we did that. We just did something, actually, it's the speechcraft piece of it with another group, and their focus at our company was to be able to get women in our technology division to be able to talk about their story, and they do it in a red chair. So what we did was we did the same speeches modules in the book, but their final performance, if you will, was crafting their red chair speech. So that's something you could do, Nicole. They're still doing everything in here, all of the different assignments, but as you're doing it, maybe once they get to speech 2 or 3, let's start crafting your story. Let's talk about your story. How do you talk about you? How do you share your experience? How do you share your thoughts about the future? Those sort of things where you're trying to get youth to think and express themselves, which eventually hopefully will lead to them also doing some of what you're doing. Is let's talk about this, because as you know, it's probably a lot more effective when youth talk to youth. But if I'm not even sure how to share my story because I'm shy, let me help you share your story. So that's what I told people. Look, that speech does not have to be about their time that they went on the Boy Scouts camping trip. That speech can be pointed. You can do this where at the end, your showcase is those particular speeches that have something to do with your program. If it's the football team, let's talk about your experience in football and why this is so great. What do you think that's going to do for you for your life? You can turn that around. So it makes them a stronger speaker, because one thing our kids need, as we all probably see, is just to express themselves. You have some kids, they naturally can express themselves, but there's others, they got the smarts and everything, they really shy away. And if we can kind of encourage that as part of this program, man, I mean, Connie told me she had kids, as I'm sure you're seeing, Renee, you know, they're like, and at the end of it, they're like, you know, she said they were walking around the room, you know, talking to people and just they're totally different person who then told you at graduation how much that meant to them. So I definitely see you can do this and wrap it up into something that also relates to your program, because I do think we need to use it in that way as well. So whatever that program's objective, like you said, maybe go in and ask them, what's the objective that you have? What do you want your students to come out with, or your kids to come out with? What do you see? What do you want to see? What do they want to see? Have you talked to them about this? And what do they want to see? Because then that way you can frame what you're doing to be that sort of end result. I think it's really important to do that. And it's not just sort of, you're just doing the speeches and here's the program. What's sort of the objective at the end? And what's that impact going to be on them? What meaning does that have to them? And Speechcraft can be done that way too with adults, in the same thing. What's sort of the end result? If there's an objective to this, maybe there's an event they're preparing for, then we can gauge this so that they are prepping for that event with all of these activities. You're going to do a presentation. You might need to mingle in the room with people that are there to talk about your program. Let's do that. We're going to practice table topics. We're going to do something fun, but next time we do this, you're going to tell me about your program. I'm going to give you a minute to tell me about your program. That's sort of how you can make this work in their favor. Because that's something that we talked to with Bank of America. We sponsor about 40 clubs. So they bother us a lot about international. We get on these little boards. Melissa knows, she was our program manager when she worked there. And I'll tell them that, like, you don't frame sometimes some of these programs in that way. It's got to be a little more meaningful and deeper now. We have been around now almost 100 years. We need to start making this a little bit better and a little bit more pointed, so that people are actually not just sort of doing it to doing it, but they have an objective. And these companies want something a little bit deeper and a little bit different. They may not want to join Toastmasters, but they may want a program for them. As we all know, the executives want their own little thing. But okay, so give them their own little thing. You know, that's my thing, is if you do, then that would get Toastmasters more into their thinking, and you'll see a lot more of them talking about Toastmasters. That's how we're going to keep it out there and make it better. So those are just, you know, sorry, it drives me nuts, because I've had this conversation with them for years, and I'm just trying to get them to understand. So we can do that with these programs and make it better.
Yeah. It's already done down.
Yeah,
I'm a part of at least 2 statewide programs. It's done. We'll make this happen.
I like it, Nicole. And if you want District 37, you know, to help you out with some of that, just let us know.
Do.
You
I'm
got
already emailing some of you guys
that would love to help you with that.
Don't worry, I'm already emailing some of you guys.
I was going to check in to see if you wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're looking to do that you brought up as part of the discussion with our program quality director. But first wanted to call out that we have about 10 minutes remaining, and I wanted to check in to see if there are any other questions. I see a few folks on. Karen, I'm not sure if you had a question, or Katina, Patricia, and we do have someone on from the line number ending 3349. Were there any questions that we could answer for you before we start to wrap up?
Yes, I have a quick question. So is it my understanding we do not have a relationship with restorative justice, and that we haven't done anything with them in youth leadership?
For restorative justice, I've not heard of restorative justice, but Trish, so maybe we need to.
So that's who we ended up having a youth leadership program with, because these are kids that have gotten in trouble, right? They're not on the way to get in trouble. They've gotten in trouble. And we worked with the justice system to make that part of their curriculum. And it was interesting to see these kids who could care less about life because life could care less about them turn into leaders and speakers. So I would suggest we probably want to talk to restorative justice. I know they loved us and we got in the paper a couple times.
Okay.
And it's nice to have Toastmasters in the paper. So if we don't have a relationship, that may be worth it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would be a great relationship to foster. Thank you for that suggestion, Patricia. Any other questions? Is that, no? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand, Katina.
Does anybody have any youth leadership that they're planning or that they're thinking about that you'd like to approach? Or I just want to throw out there, we will gladly get on a call with you, talk through the youth leadership program if that's what you need to help you to get that established. I know our program quality director is open to that as well. We are going to look at formulating hopefully something for the district maybe next year that we can hopefully kick off the ground. We wanted to see actually interest. We didn't have a lot of responses to the survey, but I think if we throw that out there and just ask people if they have any children or any groups like Trish suggested, let's talk to restorative justice. Let's talk to another group that you're working with, or school may have mentioned it to you, another organization. We will gladly, there's brochures, and then we can gladly get on a call. I'm actually got on with another group, a women's group for young high school women who reached out to Division D Director Gary Cohen. And he and I had a talk. They still want to have a second one to hopefully maybe kick off something for next year for their women's group. So they're out there. The church wants something, whatever. They're out there, and we can make this work on Zoom. So it's just a matter of just getting it out there and talking to people and walking through the program. And if we want to create some sort of just a deck or something with talking points, we can do that as well. I am open because my thought is I'm trying to drink up what I'm learning from all of you so that we begin to formulate something that we can keep consistent with the district and begin to make sure, like Trish said, we plant that seed that there's just certain things we do. And it's really a matter of just a club sponsoring it and somebody jumping to be the coordinator to do it.
Well, we got local nonprofits to sponsor it, and then they would do speechcraft, and then they would start joining our club. So it was kind of a snowball effect.
Absolutely. And they will. It's cheap. Toastmasters, I tell people, I'm dead serious. I told someone, it is the cheapest training you are ever going to get. I mean, seriously, there's people that charge you thousands of dollars to do stuff like this.
That's
And we don't. We're practically free, practically. But
Dawn, I'll share with a couple of different opportunities that I'm working through right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a conversation with the Explore program through Mecklenburg County Council of Boy Scouts of America, and they're wanting to bring the Youth Leadership Program to their Explore program, which it's a program where individuals come together and teach all different types of skills, whether it is AutoCAD to understanding nuclear engineering, to communication, to design, all different types to give exposure to high school children or high school kids, access to information and opportunities. And so we've been in conversation with that for the past 2 months. And so this is really timely for me to be able to learn and provide the information to the Explore program director. The other element is one of the troops that I had worked with had specifically asked me about the Youth Leadership Program to run the Youth Leadership Program through one of their merit badge opportunities, which targeting 6 to 8 scouts in order to help them with one of their Eagle merit badges. And then finally, TIAA, which is the company I work for, we have had programs of this nature historically. considering the virtual environment, it's been very difficult to find volunteering opportunities in the virtual space. So I've been asked in order to try to come up with options that we can still make an impact in the Mecklenburg County school system, but through a virtual medium. So this is perfect opportunity. And while you're commenting about who's getting credit, etc., I was just trying to think about how I would be able to get numerous Toastmasters across Charlotte, because we have a couple clubs here, to work together to be able to impact schools in the Governor's Village, but down also in the Betzel area as well. So I really do
clubs can definitely work together. You just have to have that one person that's the chief kahuna that's going to get the DTM credit, and that's if they function that way. If some people, like most of us, we never check it. We never check the box like we're supposed to.
I know.
I also want to point out too, not a youth leadership, but there's a module for interpersonal communication for youth, kind of set up in the same way. So we can also have that module out there as well. It's not credit for youth leadership, but you're literally going through a team leader manual. They're doing some of the same types of programs. It's just actually probably something maybe next time, Melissa, I can probably cover that when we want sometime next year. But that module is also out there. It's no different than some of the other modules that you would buy and train from before. But they had also designed this as well if you did not want to necessarily do the youth leadership per se. This also has them go through sort of team building skills, effective communication skills, working on some of their interpersonal skills as well. And this is also available as well. And I can probably make sure I pull something out to give the differences on what that is as well. But it's not quite exactly, I don't think it's 8 weeks. Apologies, everyone. I thought I had that in here. But it's, yeah, you can get a kit, and it's like 10 participant manuals in it. And you're going to do stuff like effective listening. So they learn empathy and control, effective expression, the art of effective expression, and it's sort of the same. They usually want it to be 3rd grade through high school, and it doesn't require a Toastmaster to lead it or even be involved in it, which I thought was very interesting. So this is one of those where you could actually do the module, maybe work with a group to actually do that module. Whereas with youth leadership, it definitely has to be done by hopefully a club or several clubs sponsoring with a Toastmasters that are leading and teaching it. And I'll try to get a little more info on that when I post that to the youth leadership site on our D37.
Thank you for that, Dawn. I hope that you all have thoroughly enjoyed this discussion this evening. I truly have. So first wanted to say thank you and give a round of applause to Dawn for coming and sharing in her role as our district youth leadership coordinator. This was very informative and such a great use of our time. I feel like we all walked away, or will be walking away, with something tonight, and there definitely are some opportunities for us to continue to move towards bringing some fruitfulness to the program and establishing something go forward that our successors as a leader in District 37 will be able to pick up and run with. So thank you so much for that, Dawn. I want to just quickly share a few announcements. So coming up this Saturday, for those who are not aware, District 37 has its virtual black tie celebration on Saturday, yes, at 7 p.m. We will be honoring all of those that have achieved DTM, maybe the Triple Crown Award, Toastmaster of the Year will be crowned, and several other awards. And again, it's a black tie event, so it's an opportunity for us, while we're still battling a pandemic, to dress up and be on video and kind of have that interaction across not only District 37, or we'll be going back to the old District 37, because we'll include our friends in District 117 as well, because these are our fellow Toastmasters that were all once District 37, and we will be honoring those who've achieved awards throughout the 2019 and 2020 Toastmasters year. If you need to know how to register for that, just go to our District 37 Toastmasters.org site. I believe it's the first article there. There's even a countdown for Saturday. The other thing that I wanted you to do while you're there on the district site is to go to the district calendar, because there are a host of fall contests still ongoing at the area division level throughout the rest of this month and until next month. And then next month, we have our fall/winter 2020 TLI extravaganza. And the theme is going to be is game time. We talked about sports just before joining the call. And so we're going to have a sports theme for that event on Saturday, November 14th. If you haven't registered, please go and do so. And if any of you are playing the club bingo game across the district and you need the, I guess the point for facilitating at a TLI, there are 3 opportunities. I am still looking for a facilitator for the club officer training module, for vice president membership, for secretary, and for sergeant at arms. So if you or someone you know is interested in facilitating that 50-minute session from 11 a.m. to 11:50, please send them my way, and I will be very much so appreciative of that.
That's a question. If anyone wants to get in touch with you in reference to any of those roles, could you please provide your information that they can use in the chat, please?
Absolutely, I will type it here now.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for that, Katina.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you.
And Melissa Steinman speaks. That's awesome. It's great.
All right. Well, are there any final questions before we adjourn for the evening?
I'll make a final comment.
Absolutely.
You guys really excited me tonight. I'm so glad I was able to finally get in. I am really excited to connect with some of you outside of this meeting, because I think we can do some really cool, amazing things. And there's no better time than now. So I'm really happy.
Awesome. I'm so happy that you joined the call and was able to get on video and ask your questions and share your thoughts. I really do. I think that just by all of you being here, it elevated our time tonight. So I'm just thrilled to walk away and be able to host these sessions that are helpful to a lot of people.
Either one, call, just leave a message. I'll call you back at some point after I get buried out of work or uncovered out of work. But we feel free, we can definitely talk, and I'm definitely open to going through your ideas. Jody would love to talk with you about those different ideas and which of the programs we think might work best for those 3 groups. And we can always piece something together and present that as well. I'm totally up for that if that's something we want to do, just to give that program an idea of what your thought process is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Melissa. I just wanted to say that it is wonderful that we have such a strong program available to us to really inspire the next generation of Toastmasters, but not only that, just to really provide opportunity to develop talent and to inspire and empower individuals as they rise, throughout their formative years. So thanks for taking time and really dedicating to discussing and inspiring us. I can't wait to get moving on the youth leadership training. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for bringing this group together.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. These happy hours are really great, honestly.
Awesome. Happy to know that. All right.
Melissa and Dawn, I just want to let you guys know, Calvin Duncan, I'm the 3349 number, just so you can know.
Hi, Calvin. You spoke up just as I was saying, all right, ladies, and then I heard a gentleman's voice. But welcome, Calvin. I'm happy that you were able to join in. And if you have any questions, y'all you can feel free to send them to Melissa Stedman or to Dawn, our Club Growth Director, Jody. Conch is on the line. If you have any questions, just send them our way and we'll route them to the person who can get the answer for you. And look out for more from the Happy Hour Learning Series. There was a calendar that took us all the way through the end of the Toastmasters year, outlined in the district newsletter. So if you didn't get a chance to take a look at that, please do. Our next Happy Hour Learning Series session will be in December, on December 8th. It's another Tuesday evening, and then we're gonna switch it up in 2021. And our focus on that evening will be around the district leadership roles that we refer to as the supporting cast. So we have our trio, such as Jody as our Club Growth Director, District Director, and then also our Club Program Quality Director, excuse me, Division Directors and Area Directors. Those roles will be discussed in a panel discussion that Gail, who was on earlier, will facilitate at our TLI in November. And then on the first HHLS following TLI, we will discuss those supporting roles, such as mine with the education chair, Dawn's as the youth leadership coordinator, and several other district officer supporting roles. And before we adjourn, there is one final thing that I want to cover off on. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jody, to share the question that you might have.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. It is really inspiring in order to have the opportunity to talk with future Toastmasters. We're talking today about how can we inspire our children, our students, possible future Toastmasters, and the impact that they make to themselves, their friends, their peers, their family members, etc. So it is a gift that keeps on giving. We also do the same thing for our potential clubs. We prepare demo meetings, and we have a demonstration meeting coming up on the 28th. It is with an accounting firm, KPMG, which is located downtown. The great thing is, in the virtual environment, you could be anywhere across District 37. So we're looking for your help. I know that Dawn has helped with demo meetings, and Melissa has helped, and Ray has helped. And I know that really being able to participate and showing what we do on a weekly basis when we attend our own meetings is really rewarding. To see that spark in those potential members' eyes whenever you do a table topics, you see those aha moments, or to help break down the barrier of evaluation and helping individuals to understand the different components of the meeting that takes place for Toastmasters and the process that we go through. We have some space for a couple more helpers. It's taking place on next Wednesday at 12 o'clock. If you're interested, please contact me. If you're possibly working with your peers and they've made statements to you like, I want to get more involved in Toastmasters, please send me their names. All you got to do is just share their contact information with me. I'll reach out to them. We've got all of the roles that individuals kind of shy away from, meaning like speakers and evaluators and Toastmasters. And now we're really trying to get those roles filled that would bring the talent in to really show them how a demonstration meeting takes place. So don't worry, we're not going to make you do anything that you feel uncomfortable with. I actually also need some individuals who are alternates who can kind of step into those roles in case if we have technology issues or last minute meetings, etc. So I will put my email down here, and please share my contact information with anyone who you can think of that would be able to help us out next Wednesday, the 28th at 12 o'clock via virtual Zoom sessions. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jody. All right. I appreciate everyone for flexing with us a little bit over and sharing some additional thoughts and opportunities for everyone to consider. At this time, I think we can go ahead and adjourn for the evening, and I look forward to seeing you all back on Zoom this Saturday at 7 at the Black Tie event. If not, I will see you all at our TLI extravaganza on November 14th. Good night, everyone. Thank you all for joining.
Bye. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Great job, everyone.
Awesome job, Dawn.
Thank you. That was fun. I enjoyed it. I think, Melissa, if you have any leeway in the one maybe next year, I can probably cover that interpersonal communication one when we're starting to think up next year, because that is kind of a little different. And I honestly don't know anyone that's done it just yet.
I don't know
So
either.
I will get more deal on that and dive into that one a little bit more,
Okay.
because that's a great other option if you're not trying to, you know, get youth leadership credit, so to speak. You can still work with youth, and it doesn't necessarily, although I don't like the whole thing, it doesn't have to be a Toastmaster. I don't think I'll tell too many people that one. Just make sure that they're doing it. But yeah, I think that's a great thing, especially these programs that want something integrated into it. I think that's a good program. So I know we were trying to think up things for next year. Let me throw that out there.
Okay, I'll keep that on the list as well. Were you jumping in, Jody?
Nope. Have a great night.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you so much. You guys
Have
have
a good
a
night. All right, I'm done, my friend.
Bye,
I
everyone.
really am. Bye, guys.
care.
Hey, thanks, Melissa.
Thank you. I'll talk to you on, maybe talk to you on Saturday. I'll text you on Saturday.
Oh, definitely. I'll talk to you. Bye, girl.
All right. Bye. Have a good night.